Daniel would probably say, that argument is not going to fly with me. Hi, I'm James, and welcome to this Perceptive Readers, and it happens to be on the Social Sharing is Caring Thursday, you see. Have you ever had someone say, that argument is not going to fly with me? If you haven't heard someone say that, because really sages say it to you from time to time if you ever experienced them as you were growing up. But before I tell you the context of that argument or statement is not going to fly with me, may I give you a few references? It's not a large amount of references, but they will take some time for you to get through. You can get through all of them in a day, just to contemplate what I'm going to say in the closing of this Perceptive Readers, okay? Let me make a quote from a famous musician and singer, and his name, would not quickly disappear from your mind, so I'm not going to say it. But see, this is the first reference that I want to give you. It was from a song talking about praying for time. Now, you know who sang that? Well, one of the sentences that he stated, his lyrics, happened to be, the rich declare themselves poor, end quote. This is not to jump on anybody who has the quality of life of being rich. No, this is just one of the references you need because of the point that we're still going to get to about this argument or statement is not going to, fly with me. Remember, I said this is something even Daniel would say. Well, you might say, who Daniel? The Daniel down the street, my friend Daniel, the Daniel here? Well, no, Daniel was a real man that even an angel let him know how desirable he was with God and even, them in heaven. Isn't that something? They worked hard for Daniel. Even one angel who, as soon as Daniel had started praying, well, God already gave him the word, go talk to him. And yet he had to fight with, other forces that were against Daniel. Forces that, again, the human eye cannot see unless God actually turns a certain frequency, if you will, for them to be able to see. But that's a different subject altogether, which we won't get into in this Perceptive Readers. So Daniel, I talked about him being in the Bible, there was also a special drama, if you will, at one of the JW.org's website and conventions that they had on Daniel this past year. And the name of the drama, the movie, if you will, happens to be Daniel, A Lifetime of Faith, Part 1, and Daniel, A Lifetime of Faith, Part 2, If you are a perceptive reader, which means you enjoy not only music, reading, and entertainment, but you are willing to also be, as I would use the term, hungry, humble, and honest with yourself when you receive information, especially when it's factual information of life and experience, okay? So you're a perceptive reader. Now, that was the other reference that I gave you, which, like I said, could take quite a bit of time. And then the last couple of references happen to be the Perceptive Readers podcast Apples and Oranges, number 8, and Apples and Oranges, number 9. All right. Recently, some of my videos that were on Rumble were actually attacked, and some of them went off line. I'm presently fixing some of them. And let's say if Rumble can't get them back up or what have you, then I will be sure to continue to upload them in other areas like YouTube, minds.com/POCJL. That's minds.com/POCJL. All right. That's my profile. That's the one I'm always encouraging persons, if they want to get the ball rolling, they can start with correspondence there. Okay. And then the last point of reference that I want to make has to deal with, again, the minds.com product of culture group. You will see, if you do a search, maybe 2 or 3 of them. The first one, which was originally Minds again, hackers actually took over that. Even though I'm still placed as like an administrator or what have you, I have no control over that group. I've tried many times to go through Mind support. I can't even delete that group, even though the persons that are in there are hidden from view, and there are quite a few of those. But I no longer have access with that group, which was very, I guess you could say, really hot at one time when I first started it. And then, the hackers, did what they did, or the insiders or what have you. So there's a new product of culture group as well, where right now I'm the only member in there, but it's on minds.com. And it has as the icon or feature image the Sage poetry statements, the Sage poetry. All right. So let us continue with Daniel would probably even say that argument or statement is not going to fly with me. When you actually go and view the Daniel, A Lifetime of Faith, you will quickly see that he was making it clear he was for God and his heavenly kingdom, and looking for the fulfillment of let your will in heaven, which, Jesus will later say, let your will that is being done in heaven also be done upon the earth. So he was very much looking forward to that. And God actually continued to give him encouragement, especially later years in life, through dreams and insights, you see, to understand and see situations for what they were. The reason why God did that was because Daniel he had a good heart. Not only that, we know that he was a good looking man as well. But see, it didn't go to his head that he was good looking, you see. He did his best to be fair and upright in his dealings in the kingdom or in Babylon, where he was being held captive, you see. Now, with that being the case, Daniel had ones around him. Again, smart men, merchants. They were not only, smart in business dealings, but also the magical arts, you see. And when I say magical arts, this is one thing. It's interesting. People will watch TV shows when they're growing up, horror movies and things of that nature, and act like all of this is just totally make believe, that these types of things don't happen with the different technological advancements and magic, black magic, if you will, and they act like these things are impossible. And this is the only thing I'm going to say on that. See, you're dealing with the fakers. You're dealing with the wannabes. But see, the Bible makes it very much clear that there are ways of using, we're not talking so much as the laws of nature, even though we know man is experimenting with that on a very, sad to say, grotesque level. Just saw the other day in the news something that is like, okay, it came out now, but it doesn't mean it wasn't already going on different experimentations again that they were doing with the human genome or human DNA, stem cells. And you know where stem cells come from, where they get them from. Something that is very unethical to many persons that really value life the way that God views it, you see. And so anyway, it was something dealing with injecting them into a DNA, the DNA of maybe an animal, which I think this one happens to be a pig. And I just find that very fascinating because of a variety of reasons. And then, the claim was, once again, this will help a lot of people and all this stuff. And yet a lot of persons right now at this time, which, see, this is still the conditioning phase often, where it's something bad that a person may want to do, or say that they can't do it otherwise, which is completely not true, you see. And that's one of the things that, sometimes you say that argument, it's not going to fly with me, you see. Whenever there is something that God really has made clear, do not use my creation in this way. Do not touch this sacred item in that way. Then persons who respect what God is saying, they leave it alone. They leave it alone, you see. So, with that, let's get back to that argument is not going to fly with me on another subject. There was a man, and this man had received a lot of interesting learning and other tips, and even training physically, in his younger days. And it was actually training that even though others around would sometimes, get the feeling good no matter what they had, maybe a strong drink or what have you, he very rarely still just left certain things alone. He didn't talk about these certain things. He didn't brag about. Why? Because his life and his focus was like, and he really thought about God's word in this way about, it says this, and it came from a man named Paul. He said, be babes to badness. Be babes to badness. And so when he wanted to change his life, that was one of the prayers that he said quite a bit, among many other things, because there's certain lifestyles that you can have that, boy, when you're coming out of them, boy, it's worse than the worst withdrawal, you see. Well, all the same, God answered his prayers. And see, and I'm bringing this up to you because this was a conversation that he had with a person one time too, and it actually had a way of expressing himself at times, where some persons kept on, would say at times like, boy, does this person even know what they're saying over here? Does this person know how they're perceived and this and that? And sometimes the way that it was almost like it was his fault because the persons were actually taking it the wrong way. When really, as one older man said one time, no, he's saying it exactly what he means in that way, but because of where your mind is at, that's why you're always taking it this other way. So with that being said, there was a very nice period of time that it was almost like paradise. You see, there was no up is down and down is up or anything of that nature. It was just straight up, oh, what a wonderful way of thinking and viewing people. Now, that was a account in Daniel that goes to show that even though he tried to do things right and even help the merchants out, not to be cheated or anything of that nature, these other persons who had no respect for God were always making trouble. And that makes me think about when there was a time someone said this on social media, and see, we're getting to that, and let's continue this all in line with this argument, or this statement is not going to fly with me, you see. And so it was a statement that was even said on social media. It's going around to everybody's feed mostly, where it says, there is basically, I'm paraphrasing, but no one suffers more than someone who is just trying to do right. Now, do you agree with that? You probably do, but that doesn't mean you stop doing right. So, continuing along with that argument, that statement is not going to fly with me. Now, this man that I was telling you about, you can imagine everybody has some type of altercations, or even persons who don't like them in life. And if they're on the level of the type of persons that Daniel had to deal with, make no mistake about it. When it just comes to ethics and dignity and really disrespecting persons who really value what God is saying, they'll most likely, as the term go, hit you below the belt all the time. They will act like they don't know things that they do know. Why? To help maybe control and manipulate the sincere-hearted ones who may not know that, yes, life can be this serious and you can deal with people who are just that devious, all right? And so, oftentimes it takes a while for people, the sincere ones, to find out the truth afterwards. Sad to say, throughout history, mostly always happens when the person who was really trying to help them, was already now taken away from them, could no longer help them in the way that he or she was helping them. Why? Because there were times where, hey, if you just would have spoken up, if you just would have communicated what you knew, what was going on and this and that, then you would have this person with you to this day. Now, we're 20 minutes or so into this, let's get to that argument, or that statement is not going to fly with me. And Daniel would probably say this. The internet, and you've heard me mention this for years, you could be talking to anybody. That is correct. You certainly can. However, this is the reason why I've always, made clear. You want to have, a point of verification, so to speak, and you can normally start it with an official correspondence letter. You see what I'm talking about? An official correspondence letter. And you can even do it through their own, official website. You can do it towards, I mentioned minds.com/ParkJL. And, and the person may say, well, there's a lot of AI out there, which it is. But this is, and I want to make myself clear. This is when I'm going to say to anyone who will say, well, I don't know who all these people are who are commenting on this or that or what have you. Well, the thing about it is, how are you having your business proposals anyway, man? Do you not, have a manager? Do you not do it yourself? I've seen some persons, especially even YouTubers, say, I did everything myself. Well, how did you do everything yourself? You first, once again, went to this item or this person who may not even have been verified, and then say you didn't. And you either responded, you even said, how can I contact you? Or this is how I want you to contact me, how we can get it set up. It normally mostly started from some type of written correspondence, did it not? The ball had to start somewhere. And for years, even though the internet is still, it has artificial intelligence and persons that pay for statistics and things of that nature or what have you, that's them, to each his own. But this is one thing that I'm going to say, even for the persons who may feel a little bit bad because other person's trying to make you feel bad because maybe you purchased some type of commenters or likes or what have you. Even if you did do that, and this is not my point, this is really a side note, but this is something I want you to know because again, these are facts. This is the truth. And you've known for years, I have no reason or desire to lie to you. You see, somebody used an illustration one time about they saw one video that had only a few thousand views, and then they saw another video, the same video on another site, and and it was up in the millions. And so they were saying, see, it was somewhere else, but then it was purchased, the views and the likes, etc., etc. The thing about it is, there are some persons though, that from the time they put a video on, they literally just have 0 likes. Keep that in mind. No, they have 0 views as well. Keep that in mind, okay? So if you got a 0 like and a 0 view, and then somebody else, even without your knowledge or permission, posts your video, which has 0 likes and 0 views on it, then doesn't it mean even that person who posted your video is at least 1 view and 1 like that should have shown up on your original channel? What about the people that you have talked on the street to? People you know in real life, you see? Persons who I've just said, yeah, I'll watch it. Did you know? All them over there, they watch it too. And so you already adding up this and no, I may be in a location right now where there's not over 1,000 people, at least not today, but already the views and the likes are not showing up. It's still 000. Now, why am I sharing this with you? This is just goes to show that even though a person may have had to purchase, or you may have had to purchase some likes or video views or what have you, who to say that your creative work, your hard work that you put into to bring in your stats and your currency wouldn't have got only that, but even a lot more if you were not being censored or siphoned. You see, who to say? Remember, part of the encouragement of seeing your business grow and getting the motivation to continue forward is to see your accurate stats. So that's why I can say, it's not going to fly with me when somebody usurps on these different internet platforms, from YouTube to Google to all of them, because of their own agenda, and keep saying it doesn't make a difference. Yes, it does make a difference. Because if you see that account in Daniel, A Lifetime of Faith, part 1 and part 2, that if the king wasn't wise enough to see what was going on with these conspirators and these real persons who were just up to no good to even make things more difficult for God's people on this earth, if he wasn't wise enough to see it, then they would have continued to be able to do those first traps of what they tried to do to him with the lions, you see. Trying to interfere between Daniel and his God. And you've heard me say this before, you know, and one of the ways that I said it, it offends somebody, but you know what? I'm going to say it again. It depends on the culture. I say, you know, you don't mess with a man's livelihood. You don't mess with a man's woman or women. And you don't mess or come between his God. Period. And you know, sages, dignified ones who appreciate the wisdom and the understanding, how the universe works and everything else, they respect a person. They respect you. And it doesn't mean that you're all going to be best friends and talking all the time, but they respect and dignify you enough that, you know what? I realize, you see, this is what oneness and unity really is. It's not meaning all of a sudden you give all of your life and whole vital force, which, yes, it talks about in the scripture of giving all of that to God because it belongs to him. Okay. And yet then God gives us instruction right back through his word, the good book in the Bible, to say, yes, you are mine. You're my child. You are mine. And with that, to make sure that I keep your whole soul devotion, there are just certain things I'm not going to let no other man, no other person take away from me. Your conscience is one of them. Okay? Now, the last statement that I'm going to make about this is not going to fly with me. We're still talking about the internet and being aware of certain procedures that you take, you see, to get in contact with persons. Now, there's this big thing, even with all the stuff going on in the background in the internet, where some people still say, I won't talk to you unless you put your face on the internet. Why? Why? Do you think I know why? So don't go there. Now the other thing is, what's not going to fly is when such persons say, I don't know. I can't see. I've never seen. Yeah, right. Let me say it again. I don't know. I never seen his face. I don't know anything about him. And so, who you think you're talking to? So, would Daniel say, that's not going to fly with me? And for some of these persons, like I say, who are very much high up in certain ways and things of that nature, let me tell you, it doesn't matter whether it's a bot or not. They have the means, they have the manager, they have other ways, because it doesn't require a lot, where they can really still find a way to get in contact with you if they really want to. If they really can end up getting other personalized conversation and contact. You see, they can do it. They really can. That is not a problem. So that argument is not going to fly with me. So in closing, I encourage you at this 30-minute mark, go back through, listen to the references, take some time, even if it takes, the whole weekend, to look up the references and see if you don't come to the same type of conclusions that we just discussed on this Perceptive Readers podcast. Thank you for being here. Yes, even Daniel probably would say, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but you could just see in certain expressions, even in that drama, that statement is not going to fly with me.